this person is being proud. But that's not always true. In fact, in a lot of cases, personal branding in the society will live right now where people are always perceiving you and judging your character is something you have to be intentional about, right? Where you talked about having a value system, right? And I mentioned earlier that whether you actually are intentional about projecting yourself or you are not, people perceive you one way or the other, right? So things you do, either voluntarily, involuntarily, consciously, unconsciously, is the way where people use that, or the society. I'll put that way. Society find a way to classify you based on your actions, right? Now let me take a step back. Now, if you go back to the definition of personal branding, I can also say personal branding is projecting your present and designing your future, right? So if you have a targeted future you want to be, you can start projecting that future right now. You can start designing that future by how you live, right? If I know when I'm done with school in big corporations or in companies, I want to be able to communicate effectively. I don't wait till I finish school to start branding myself as a good communicator. I start branding myself right now, even as a student. For my seminars, I find ways to communicate more effectively, right? So, talking about personal branding, about people having that misconception about being proud or being boastful, no, that's not correct, right? Because if you don't do it, if you don't brand yourself intentionally, you'll be branded unintentionally, whether online or in person. So that's what's the main point I want to make. If you don't brand yourself intentionally, you will be branded unintentionally, whether online or in person. So in other words, we all carry a brand, whether we like it or not. It just depends on some people are branding themselves intentionally, some are not. Right? So people don't even know that people have placed a brand on them based on how they live their lives. That's the unique thing with personal branding, right? You don't, if you apply for a job now, at least you can know the employers are searching about you and all that. But personal branding, you don't even know what the society is looking at, or what they are saying, or what they are, what is being projected about you, right? And when opportunities come knocking, the first thing that will open the door, the first thing people see is your brand. So this is why it's very important that we all make intentional efforts to brand ourselves, either in person or online.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Thank you because you've done so much justice to the misconception out there, of connecting, branding to, being proud and selfish. But Peter, this team has consistently been, it's what I've seen since you guys started, responding to some of the questions that have arisen from our conversations. Is personal branding an online thing alone? Is it what it is? Is it does it have to be? Do we have to take intentional steps of putting our brand online? Because you guys have said a lot about being online.
So I would say it is not just online. It's both online and also in person. The good side about you can only do very little with just being physical, right? Because you cannot be in the same place, like different places at the same time, but different people can be seeing you at the same time online, right? For example, let's say a speaker, going to speak it's only the people there that can see you in person, but that same talk can be listened to millions of other people, all over the world. So I would say both, both online and then physical, because of the lot of platforms, the world is moving into a digital, it's already not moving to, it's already a digital world. So if you really want to be able to reach out to more people and then spread out, I think online platforms are a very effective way to do that. For example, I myself, the business I'm doing, there are a lot of people I've never met in person, but they know me, right? So if I'd wanted to wait till, I'm able to meet them physically, then there is no way I would have been able to build my brand to this extent. So I would say we should be able to leverage the power of the internet in this age to be able to project ourselves online. We should also be careful because the online, if not managed properly, can actually, be a tool to be, self-destruct, because you can just push yourself out in a very wrong way, and then millions of people see, that negative branded part of you, if not. So I would say it's a very powerful tool, to be used, and also it should be handled with care.
Thank you very much, Peter. I was gonna get back to you on something, but I will. I will definitely come back to you. But you can also, what do you see top personal brands out there do? You are a personal brand yourself. I've seen some of the stuff you put out, and I've been pretty impressed. So, what are those pitfalls that you see top brands, do that you can tell us from your own experience have been destructive?
That's really a very good question. I would say that on the top of the list for me will be authenticity. That's the honest truth. Authenticity is very important. I know that we are trying to bridge a gap in perception, but nonetheless, we shouldn't, for any reason, try to conform to who we are not. That's very important. But when you're branding yourself, the key goal is you're saying these are your core values, these are your principles, and you're trying to communicate them. At the same time, that could mean something else to someone. And therefore, you saying that one of your core value is integrity, someone else can interpret it as, well, you're just trying to say that you're better than everyone else. That's just perception from another person. And so, what I would say is just because you get a lashback from the society by you presenting your authentic self shouldn't be a reason for you to strive for conformance. Rather, retrace the step back and evaluate within yourself and ask and say, am I truly demonstrating who I am authentically? Is there a gap in how I'm communicating who I am? And if you've checked off that list and you confirm that, you've communicated properly, you're representing who you are, stand for it. The first time you push yourself out into the society or in your dealings with people, you will be misconstrued in many cases. And it's okay. It's a make or break moment when it comes to personal branding, because that's where the pressure pushes people to assume who the society thinks they should. And your ability to move past that stage is really what defines your authenticity. Personal branding isn't really about trying to picture a perfect life. It could also be about sharing the good, the bad moments, and how you've handled it. It's truly what you want to show the world about yourself, the authentic you. And so, as some of the panelists have already mentioned, I would say that there is that component of online, which again will depend on your field or your career. People who are academics, people who do research, by default might find themselves online, because when you publish papers, the record goes online. People can look through those records, so those stay there. And so when someone wants to find out your productivity within the scientific world, they could use a Google Scholar to get some of those details. So those are available. People in the entertainment industry will also have to be more intentional about branding themselves online. So it just varies. The extent of online branding will depend on the career path and the goal of the individual. But what is more important beyond the content and how we are controlling the narrative online is our interaction with human beings, because that's just the part that speaks all the volume. Our interaction with people, that's the opportunity for you to show with your co-workers, with the things that you do, that those core values that you've highlighted maybe in your online platform is truly who you are. But I think the key word that I want to take out of that I want people to take out of this is that branding is important. It is good, but it's likewise very critical to remember that you're branding your authentic self. You're not branding to conformance. You're presenting who you are. And if the society doesn't take it that way, depending on what your goal is for that branding, I think you will do yourself a great deal of good by remaining authentic.
Thank you, Chukunonso. Um, you emphasized authenticity. I would love to, play the devil's advocate. You've got to pardon me. I've seen scenarios where young people have gone on a drunken spree. You see, let's give an example. You are a lifestyle coach, and in trying to remain authentic, you go for a party and we all see it, all splashed up on your wall on Instagram. You put them on, all your social media platforms that people really know that you are in there. And or you become a gym instructor, and I as your your follow one of your students sees you eating, in eating having a buffet, eating a lot of cheese. And I'm not so much of a fan of trying to cut out cheese from food anyway, so you need to pardon me. But that was a classic example. Looking at that, many people, I've seen people who like, I don't know which kind of gym instructor you are. I don't, because they begin to cast aspersion and doubt on what who you say you are. It begins to get, this person is kind of very, he's living a dual a dual kind of life. Looking at that, I feel, because these are conversations, I feel that there are things that, as much as we are authentic, we should, place, a little bit of care, in handling them, because you are trying to ensure that you influence the right people to do the right things. And because you become a role model, people who are untrained, who don't really understand, who are on one extreme of their growth process, might be judgmental. And we are in, we have the mixed crowd out there who are looking up to us. So I feel, personally, that we must be able to draw the line between being extravagant and being authentic, because there's a thin line in, especially out there. But like you said, I took something that you must go back to your mission statement, to your brand statement, and ensure that what you are putting out there is in consonance with what is out there. You can just, I mean, nobody wants to deal with a robot. People want to deal with a human being. So whenever they see you talk on certain issues, they want to see the human side. So your mom died, you can put it out there so that people know that you are not perfect. People's vulnerabilities, can also serve as a weapon for proper influence. On that thought, Paul, I was also thinking, yeah, is there anything that, like, negative publicity, that can affect a brand? Does negative publicity really affect a brand? Um,
Thank you very much, Augustine. And I would like to take that question and put it in context. I really appreciate that question because there's this common quote out there that no any publicity is a good publicity, right? But in what we're talking about right now, we're not just talking about when we talk about personal branding, is not just all about publicity. It's about having, as Chukunonso mentioned and Peter mentioned, it's about being authentic. It's about having your value system. It's about being real. So talking about negative publicity, right? It takes away. There are two things. Maybe that's who the person is, right? But it's for us as people who are purpose driven, we are very very intentional and careful about our value system because we want to place, I want to brand ourselves on our value system, which is sustainable. That's the key word, sustainable. We are not trying to live a dual life. Um, at work and at home, or online and in our lives. No, we are trying to replicate our value system, trying to replicate our real selves everywhere and any platform we are given the opportunity to, right? Now we are having this conversation here. This is the same conversation we would have without recording this call, right? So we're not just transform all of a sudden now speaking about personal branding. We've been having this for a long time. This is who we are. So talking about negative publicity, I don't think it's sustainable. If that's what you want to start your branding on, right? Just to become popular is a popularity contest, then is not sustainable, because personal branding is not just all about popularity.